I've now jumped ahead to part 4 of Duane Elgin's Choosing Earth, which is entitled Uplifts for a Transforming Future. It starts with a little poem, I guess, which reads, "It's 3:23 in the morning and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, 'What did you do while the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? Surely you did something when the seasons started failing, as the mammals, reptiles, birds were all dying. Did you fill the streets with protest when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew?'" It's a poem called Hieroglyphic Stairway by Drew Dellinger. Okay, so he introduces he introduces like the whole chapter and then moves into the first section. So Uplifts for Transformation, we first get a quote from David Orr reading, "When we heal the earth, we heal ourselves. When we heal the earth, we heal ourselves." Elgin states, "Uplift happens when all of life is uplifted. To choose the well-being of all life as the foundation for our well-being as a species requires a profound expansion and deepening of our engagement with life. A great transition from deep separation to conscious communion, serving the well-being of all life, will not happen automatically. This is a demanding process, both individually and collectively. When confronted with the prospect of humanity's extinction, discovering forces that, if consciously chosen, can lift us up on our evolutionary journey is a treasure beyond price. Below are 7 uplifting forces that are simple, universal, emotionally powerful, and can awaken our high human potentials. And portions of these have been woven into the preceding scenario of the coming half century. Here, uplifts are explored at greater length to reveal the powerful updraft they can bring to the human journey." And so he talks about choosing aliveness, choosing consciousness, choosing communication, choosing maturity, choosing reconciliation, choosing community, and choosing simplicity. And this is going to be about the first of those, which is choosing aliveness. And to begin that section, we get 2 quotes from Plato and Einstein. The one from Plato reads, "The universe is a single living creature that contains all living creatures within it." And from Einstein, "We are souls dressed up in sacred biochemical garments, and our bodies are the instruments through which our souls play their music." Choosing aliveness. Soaring uplift can happen naturally when we make our home in a paradigm of aliveness that offers a new understanding of the nature of reality and human identity, and when these in turn bring new insights into our evolutionary journey. Paradigm changes that awaken this threefold transformation are extremely rare in history. We are now in the midst of such an awakening, whose essence can be summarized as moving from deadness to aliveness. Instead of regarding the universe as composed of dead matter and empty space without meaning or purpose, the universe is known and experienced as a unified sentient organism, a singular and living entity, becoming ever more conscious and generating more and more complex expressions of its aliveness. The view that we live in a unified and living universe is not new. Instead, this is humanity's original understanding of reality, but has been largely forgotten for the past few hundred years. Now it's being rediscovered with the convergence of insights from the frontiers of science and the world's most ancient wisdom traditions. Humans' earliest intuitions revealed a subtle aliveness that permeates all existence. For at least 5,000 years, this was the view the Ohlone tribe of Indians, now extinct, but who lived sustainably on their land in the San Francisco Bay Area. Cultural anthropologist Malcolm Margolin has beautifully described how, for the Ohlone, nature was alive and shimmering with energy. Aliveness was not remote, but like the air, was present everywhere and in everything. Because everything was filled with life, every act was spiritual. All tasks, hunting an animal, preparing food, or making a basket, were done with a feeling for the surrounding world of life and power. The perception that we live in a living universe was not restricted to indigenous cultures. More than 2,000 years ago, Plato wrote his story of creation, the Timaeus, and described the universe or cosmos as a singular living being endowed with a soul. Despite these deep roots of aliveness, the idea of non-living universe and dead materialism took root roughly 300 years ago in Western societies. Materialism views dead matter and empty space as the only true reality and regards the universe as being without aliveness or deeper meaning and purpose. This shallow and impoverished view of reality, human identity, and our evolutionary journey has been immensely powerful for a simple reason. It transformed the world into a resource to be consumed. If nature were essentially dead matter, then it was logical to consume the deadness to benefit the living, ourselves. This simple logic was ruthless in giving permission for the unrestrained exploitation of nature. Given the absence of ethical restraint, the paradigm of dead materialism has been merciless in its exercise of power, continuing full force until reaching the limits of its shallow and simple-minded understanding of existence. That limit is now in view as we see the suicidal logic of dead materialism leading to the extinction of our species, along with much of the rest of life on Earth. We now confront the paradox of great impoverishment as the cost of material abundance. We are killing ourselves. The destruction of ecosystems pushes us to remember our earliest understanding of existence and to reclaim its ethical foundation. If the world around us is alive, then our mature task is to extend conscious care to all that is living and to treat it with great respect. There is a stark and simple difference between these two paradigms. If the world is dead at the foundations, then exploit it, use it up, and consume it. If it is alive, take care of it and use its gifts with gratitude and moderation. The modern mind has viewed nature as dead and therefore insentient. In turn, we have only surface regard for how we use and abuse it. With disregard and distance, the richness and depth of the world have been flattened into resources to exploit. Whatever uplift exists in the mechanistic paradigm amounts to a thin veneer of happiness based on consumption of more material things. In contrast, a paradigm of aliveness abounds with uplift. Our entire universe emerged from a pinpoint of energy near 14 billion years ago and has blossomed into existence with an estimated 2 trillion galaxies, each with 100 billion or more star systems. Our existence is an amazing illustration of uplift as we continuously arise from a generative ground of aliveness. An extraordinary life force is both foundational in giving birth to and sustaining our universe, and emergent in giving birth to countless expressions of aliveness. We see irrepressible aliveness everywhere. For example, in grass growing through cracks of sidewalks, in the frigid reaches of the Arctic Ocean, in the scalding heat of deep ocean vents, in beds of clay miles beneath the earth that have never seen sunlight and water. Sustaining an entire universe and giving birth to countless expressions of life represents astonishing uplift. Awakening to aliveness, we rediscover the continuous uplift at the foundations of all existence. If cosmic scale aliveness can create and sustain trillions of galaxies, then it can surely provide uplift to transform the sorrow of materialism's ruin of the earth into the joys of living in a flourishing garden rich with possibility. This section, the power of our aliveness. Our collapsing world challenges us with an unyielding question. Is there an experience of life so widely shared that it can draw us together in a common journey to a thriving future? Again, is there an experience of life so widely shared that it can draw us together in a common journey to a thriving future? The answer is a straightforward yes. Beneath our many differences, we all share the experience of being simply alive. And this remarkable experience provides an unshakable foundation for humanity to come together in a common journey of transition and transformation. When our personal aliveness becomes transparent to the aliveness of the living universe, experiences of wonder and awe emerge naturally. As we open into the cosmic dimensions of our being, we feel more at home, less self-absorbed, more empathy for others, and an increased desire to be of service to life. These shifts in perspective are immensely valuable for building a sustainable and purposeful future. One of the world's most foremost scholars of humanity's wisdom traditions was Joseph Campbell. I had the privilege, as in I, Duane Elgin, had the privilege of co-authoring a book with him, Changing Images of Man, exploring the deep archetypes drawing us into the future in these transitional times. In a revealing interview, Campbell was asked if the deepest quest of humans is the search of meaning, the search for meaning. He replied, "People say that what we're all seeking is a meaningful life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive." That was Joseph Campbell. Elgin continues. A quote attributed to philosopher Blaise Pascal speaks clearly. The goal of life is not happiness, peace, or fulfillment, but aliveness. Howard Thurman, author, philosopher, theologian, and civil rights leader, famously said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who've come alive." This section, aliveness is our only true wealth. Psychologist and author Erich Fromm has written that our experience of aliveness is the most precious gift we can share with others. When we share the experience of aliveness with ourselves, our gratitude and fears, understanding and curiosity, humor and sorrow, we offer the essence of our being. Again, when we share the experience of aliveness within ourselves, our gratitude and fears, understanding and curiosity, humor and sorrow, we offer the essence of our being. In sharing our aliveness, we enrich the life of others. We awaken their sense of aliveness by sharing our own experience of being alive in the moment. We do not share with the intention of receiving something from others. Instead, the sharing itself is a gift of ourselves that awakens a reciprocal aliveness in others, returning us in a mutually enhancing flow. Spiritual and ecological elder Joanna Macy connects climate activism with our experience of aliveness. Quote, "The current moment is an exquisite time to be alive, because an awareness of impending collapse is an invitation to ask ourselves deep questions of meaning that we typically postpone, and some of us never even get to. Climate despair is inviting people back to life. The way through despair involves experiencing oneself as part of a greater whole and surrendering to the mystery of creation. The climate crisis invites us to engage with the mystery of life with fresh eyes and an open heart." That was Joanna Macy. Elgin continues. Jungian philosopher Anne Baring describes how consumer cultures find it difficult to enter into the experience of indigenous cultures and their understanding that, quote, "the life of the cosmos, the life of the earth, and the life of humanity were one life, permeated and informed by animating spirit." She writes that the great revelation of our time is that we are moving from the story of a dead, insentient cosmos to a new story of a cosmos that is vibrantly alive and the primary ground of our own consciousness. That was Anne Baring, Jungian philosopher. Again, Elgin continues. A non-living universe is without consciousness and is therefore oblivious to any sense of human purpose. As existentially separate life forms, we may strive heroically to impose some reason for our existence on the universe, but this is ultimately fruitless in a cosmos unaware of life. In striking contrast, a living universe seems intent on generating self-referencing and self-organizing systems within itself at every scale. We are expressions of aliveness that after nearly 14 billion years enable the universe to look back and reflect upon itself. A living universe paradigm brings a profound shift in our evolutionary purpose. We get a quote from Simone de Beauvoir reading, "Life is occupied in both perpetuating itself and surpassing itself. If all it does is maintain itself, then life is only not dying. Then living is only not dying." Elgin continues, "Beneath differences of language and history, a common understanding is present. The universe is a living system, emerging as a fresh creation in every moment. We are an inseparable part of this regenerative process. This understanding is well known and recognized widely by mystics, poets, and naturalists." We now get a succession of quotes. Henry David Thoreau, quote, "Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads." Albert Schweitzer, quote, "The deeper we look into nature, the more we recognize that it's full of life. From this knowledge comes our spiritual relationship with the universe." John Muir, "And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." Haruki Murakami, "Not just beautiful, though. The stars are like the trees in the forest, alive and breathing, and they're watching me." Joseph Campbell, "The goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature." Buddha, "If you wish to know the divine, feel the wind on your face and the warm sun on your hand." Frank Lloyd Wright, "I believe in God, only I spell it nature." And now Elgin continues, "Awakening to our conscious connection with the living universe naturally expands our scope of concern and compassion, and brightens the prospect of working together to build a sustainable future. This is not abstract philosophy, but the visceral experience of simply being alive to our unique experience of ourselves." At 90 years of age, the words of Florida Scott Maxwell describe this view powerfully. Quote, "You need only claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. When you possess all you have been and done, you are fierce with reality." Elgin continues, "As we awaken to the aliveness at the core of our being, we simultaneously connect with the aliveness of the universe. Aliveness costs nothing and is freely given as our birthright. The experience of aliveness is here and available to us at all times. Aliveness is an embodied, powerful, and universally shared experience. To illustrate, I asked participants in a learning community I co-facilitate to describe what being fully alive means to them. Responses were immediate and direct: being in the flow, mind coming home to body, feeling the full range of my emotions, living on purpose and without expectation, giving full expression to my soulful gifts, deep connection with nature. A life path devoted to developing full aliveness may be dismissed as wishful fantasy by those living within the mindset of materialism and consumerism. However, this view is changing. The mindset of materialism is being transformed by new findings from science, by enduring insights from wisdom traditions, and by the direct experience of a large portion of humanity. By integrating these diverse sources of understanding, we discover aliveness is the new and ageless experience that offers humanity a place of common meeting and collective healing. Our closest connection with the earliest understandings of ancient peoples comes from indigenous traditions with deep roots extending far into humanity's past. Indigenous wisdom supported our ancestors as they endured exceptionally harsh conditions for several 100,000 years. How do people who continue to uphold these ancient traditions experience life and the world? We now get a few examples. And again, I apologize if I mispronounce anything. The first example is the Koyukon tribe of northern central Alaska. Quote, the Koyukon live in a world that watches, in a forest of eyes. They believe wherever we are never truly alone because the surroundings, no matter how remote, are aware of our presence and must be treated with respect. The second example, Sarayaku Kichwa of the Ecuadorian Amazon jungle. Quote, they believe that everything in the jungle is alive and has a spirit. The third example, Luther Standing Bear of the Lakota Sioux from the region of North and South Dakota. Quote, there was no such thing as emptiness in the world. Even in the sky, there were no vacant places. Everywhere there was life, visible and invisible, and every object gave us great interest in life. The world teemed with life and wisdom. There was no complete solitude for the Lakota. Elgin continues. The idea and experience of a living, conscious presence permeating the world is shared by most and perhaps all indigenous cultures. The Alaskan Koyukon people describe the natural world as a forest of eyes, aware of our presence, no matter who or where we are. A related intuition tells us that a life force or sacred wind blows through the universe and brings with it a capacity for awareness and communion with all life. Consistent with indigenous views, we find an astonishing insight regarding the nature of the universe in diverse spiritual traditions. Most spiritual traditions view the universe as continuously arising anew at every moment, an undivided whole emerging in an unutterably vast process of awesome precision and power. From Meister Eckhart, quote, God is creating the entire universe fully and totally in this present now. Everything God created, God creates now all at once. From Rumi, quote, you have a death and a return in every moment. Every moment the world is renewed, but we, in seeing its continuity of appearance, are unaware of its being renewed. From D.T. Suzuki, my solemn proclamation is that a new universe is created every moment. From Sri Nisargadatta, who's a Hindu teacher, quote, the entire universe contributes incessantly to your existence. Hence, the entire universe is your body. And from Lao Tzu, the Tao is the sustaining life force and the mother of all things. From it, all things rise and fall without cease. How widespread is the experience of permeating aliveness and deep unity in everyday life? How often do people feel aliveness and intimate connection with nature and the larger world? Scientific surveys have explored this pivotal question. We now get a few points reading as follows. Firstly, a global survey involving 7,000 youths in 17 countries taken in 2008 found that 75% believe in a higher power, and the majority say they've had a transcendent experience, believe in life after death, and think it's probably true that all living things are connected. In 1962, a Gallup survey of the adult population in the US found that 22% reported having awakening experiences that reveal our intimate connection with the universe. By 1976, that had grown to 31%. And by 1994, that had grown to 33%. By 2009, There was a Pew Research survey reported that moments of sudden religious insight or awakening had grown dramatically to 49% of the adult population. Furthermore, in a national survey of the US in 2014, nearly 60% of adults reported they regularly feel a deep sense of spiritual peace and well-being, and 46% say they experience a deep sense of wonder about the universe at least once a week. An important reason for these changes may be the dramatic increase in meditation in recent years. What was a New Age novelty in the 1960s has grown into a mainstream movement in the 21st century. The percentage of adults who meditate is growing rapidly. It's now 14% in 2017 in the United States. Meditation, diet, and exercise are now considered mainstream activities for health and well-being. These surveys show that awakening experiences of communion and connection with the aliveness of the universe are not a fringe phenomenon, but are familiar for a large portion of the public. Humanity is measurably waking up to a view of ourselves as inseparable from the larger universe. Again, humanity is measurably waking up to a view of ourselves as inseparable from the larger universe. Until recent decades, any suggestion that the universe could be viewed as a unified living system was regarded as fantasy by mainstream science. Now, with findings from quantum physics and elsewhere, the ancient intuition of a unified living universe is being reconsidered, as science cuts away superstition to reveal the cosmos as a place of unexpected wonder, depth, dynamism, and unity. Several points which demonstrate this. First of all, a unified whole. In the last several decades, quantum physics has repeatedly confirmed that the universe is a single vast unity, deeply connected with itself everywhere at every moment. A famous quote from Einstein challenges the view of separation. Quote, "A human being is part of the whole and called by us universe, a part limited in time and space." A human being is part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. We experience ourselves, our thoughts, and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. The quest for liberation from this bondage is the only object of true religion. That was a unified whole. Second point, mostly invisible. Quote, "In a stunning challenge to the view that matter energy is all there is in the universe, scientists now think the overwhelming majority of the universe is invisible and not material." Quote, "Scientists now estimate that approximately 95% of the known universe is invisible to our physical senses, with 72% comprised of dark energy and 23% comprised of dark matter." Okay. "Our biology is a manifestation of the 4% of the universe composed of visible matter. This new understanding from science confirms humanity's original perception that underlying the physical world, there is a vastly larger invisible world of unseen energy and immense power." Here is an even more far-reaching view from Einstein. Quote, "What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. Matter is spirit reduced to the point of visibility. There is no matter." Okay, the third point is co-arising. Quote, "At every moment, the entire universe emerges freshly as a singular orchestration of cosmic expression. Nothing endures, all is flow. In the words of cosmologist Brian Swim, quote, "The universe emerges out of an all-nourishing abyss, not only 14 billion years ago, but in every moment." Despite outward appearances of solidity and stability, when science explores deeply, we see evidence that the universe is a regenerative system. Now, the next point, consciousness at every scale. Quote, "A gradation of consciousness seems to be present throughout the universe, so that consciousness never switches off completely as we explore ever smaller expressions of life. Instead, consciousness diminishes as organic complexity reduces, from humans to dogs, insects, plants, and single-celled creatures, and then continues fading into inorganic matter such as electrons and quarks that possess an extremely simple form of consciousness congruent with their simple nature. Further, because the universe is a unified whole and there are no independent parts, it suggests the universe itself has consciousness. an expression of its holistic nature, and that can be experienced by humans as the consciousness of the cosmos or cosmic consciousness. The generative power of the mother universe, which has given birth to our daughter universe, suggests there exists an underlying ocean of generative aliveness and awareness from which an entire universe can spring and grow from a seed smaller than a single atom to a vast system with several trillion galaxies. Max Planck, developer of quantum theory, stated, quote, "I regard consciousness as fundamental." And his final point is able to reproduce, quote, "A vital capacity for any living system is the ability to reproduce. A growing view in cosmology is that our universe reproduces itself through black holes." Physicist John Gribben writes, quote, "Instead of a black hole representing a one-way journey to nowhere, many researchers now believe that it's a one-way journey to somewhere, to a new expanding universe in its own set of dimensions." Elgin continues, quote, "A new picture of our universe is coming into focus. Life exists within life. Our aliveness is inseparable from the larger aliveness of a living cosmos. The universe is a unified superorganism, continuously regenerated at each moment, and that includes consciousness and knowing capacity that enables systems at every scale of existence to exercise some measure of freedom of choice. We are not who we thought we were. In considering the enormity of the universe with its billions of swirling galaxies, each with billions of stars, it is natural to draw the conclusion that we are utterly tiny in the cosmic scale of things. However, this view is radically mistaken. We are not small creatures. In the overall scale of the universe, we are literally giants. Imagine that you have a ruler that measures from the largest scale of the known universe to the smallest. At the largest scale, we see hundreds of billions of galaxies. And at the smaller scale, we travel deep within the core of an atom and then much further down to the unimaginably small realms of our regenerative universe. If we place the size of humans alongside this cosmic ruler, we find that we are in the middle range. In fact, there is more smallness within us than bigness beyond us. In the cosmic scale of things, we are truly enormous creatures. We are giants. As colossal beings, it's easy for us to overlook the whirlwinds of regenerative activity continuously at work at the truly microscopic scale of the universe. Thomas Berry, scholar of the world's religions, describes the inseparable connection of the individual with the universe. Quote, "We bear the universe in our being as the universe bears us in its being. The two have a total presence to each other and to that deeper mystery out of which both the universe and ourselves have emerged." How extraordinary! A field of aliveness creates and sustains our universe, patiently holding it within its spacious embrace for billions of years, while producing ever more conscious expressions of aliveness, increasingly able to look back with reflective consciousness and appreciate their origins. As we learn to recognize our experience of aliveness, and as we encounter the aliveness at the foundation of the universe, as felt experience, as life meets life, a window opens and awakening experiences naturally arise. When our experience of aliveness connects with the greater aliveness of the universe, we recognize as direct experience that we are part of the great wholeness of life. This is who we are, both a unique biological aliveness and an inseparable part of cosmic aliveness. We are both biological and cosmic in nature. We are biocosmic beings. In a stunning paradox, described beautifully by psychotherapist Thomas Yeomans, as we grow in our spiritual maturity and become one with all life, we simultaneously become ever more completely and uniquely ourselves. When we bring these many threads of wisdom together, Indigenous understandings, spiritual traditions, nature wisdom, direct experience, scientific evidence, they transform our understanding of reality from dead to alive. And this transforms our understanding of human identity. as both biological and cosmic in nature. And this transforms our understanding of our evolutionary journey. We are learning to live in a living universe. To review, the paradigm of materialism assumes we inhabit a universe that is non-living at its foundations, without consciousness, meaning, or purpose. As a result, we identify with our material or biological nature and no more. I think, and therefore I am the thoughts that I think and no more. In contrast, in a living universe, our being includes consciousness that reaches into an unbounded ecology beyond our thinking brain. Therefore, as conscious beings, our identity can reach far beyond our biological nature and mental activity. We are beings of both biological and cosmic dimension. To repeat, we are biocosmic beings. Just as we can cultivate and evolve our thinking capacity, we can also evolve our capacity for unbounded knowing in the unity of the universe. The expansion and deepening of our natural capacity for cosmic consciousness transforms our identity and evolutionary journey. Yet, being unflinchingly realistic, it does not seem likely we will turn away from a path of separation, with its growing inequities, overconsumption of resources, and deep injury to the earth, unless we discover a pathway to the future so truly remarkable, transformative, and welcoming that we are drawn together by the felt presence of its invitation. This path must be so compelling as a felt possibility that we are drawn into exploration in the present moment. That pathway is being revealed by insights converging from science and the world's wisdom traditions. We are discovering that instead of struggling for meaning and a miracle of survival in a dead universe, we are invited to learn and grow forever in the deep ecologies of a living universe. Stepping into the invitation of learning to live in a living universe represents a journey so extraordinary, it calls us to heal the wounds of history and to realize a remarkable future we can attain only together. As we open into the cosmic dimensions of our being, we feel more at home, less self-absorbed, more empathetic towards others, and increasingly drawn to be of service to life. These shifts in perspective are immensely valuable for building a sustainable future. To step into the invitation of learning to live consciously in a living universe is to begin a new chapter in humanity's evolution with a transformed understanding of reality, human identity, and our evolutionary journey. If only for brief moments at a time, we can glimpse and know existence as a seamless totality. Touching the aliveness of the universe for even a few moments can transform our lives. The poet Kabir wrote that he saw the universe as a living and growing body for 15 seconds, and it made him a servant for life. No matter how mundane the circumstance, no matter how seemingly trivial the situation, we can always become aware of the subtle aliveness and consciousness within and around us. We can glimpse the living universe in the golden light of a late afternoon or in the luster of an old wooden table that shines with an inexplicable depth and presence. We can also witness the buzzing aliveness of existence in places that may seem far removed from nature. A room filled only with plastic, chrome steel, and glass will fiercely display aliveness in the raw. In the gentle contemplation of any part of ordinary reality, we can catch glimpses of the great hurricane of energy that blows with silent force through all things, and with a forest of eyes is aware of our existence. Empty space will also disclose that it is an ocean of dancing aliveness, a subtle symphony of transparent architecture, actively providing a context for matter to present itself. To be born as a human being is a rare and precious gift. While we have the gift of a body to anchor our experience, it's important to recognize our biocosmic nature. We are biocosmic beings. Our bodies are biodegradable vehicles for acquiring soul-growing experiences. As compostable conduits for cosmic learning experiences, our bodies are expressions of a creative aliveness that, after nearly 14 billion years, enables the universe to look back and reflect on itself. Because the cosmos is a learning system, a primary purpose for being here is to learn from both the pleasures and the pains of existence. If there were no freedom to make mistakes, there would be no pain. If there were no freedom for authentic discovery, there would be no ecstasy. In freedom, we experience both pleasure and pain in the process of developing our identity as beings of both earthly and cosmic dimensions. We stand upon the earth as agents of self-reflective and creative action, engaged in a time of great transition, consciously learning to live in a living universe. As an ancient Greek saying speaks directly to our living journey, quote, "Light your candle before night overtakes you." If the universe were non-living at its foundation, it would take a miracle to save us from extinction at the time of death, and then to take us from here to a heaven or promised land of continuing aliveness. However, if the universe is alive, then we're already nested and growing within its aliveness. All things end, all being continues. That is the nature of each. When our physical body dies, the life stream we are makes its passage to a fitting home in a larger ecology of aliveness. We don't need a miracle to save us. We already exist within the miracle of sustaining aliveness. Instead of being saved from death, our job is to bring mindful attention to the ever-emerging aliveness in the here and now. We are shifting from seeing ourselves as accidental creations wandering through a lifeless cosmos without meaning or purpose, to seeing ourselves engaged in a sacred journey of discovery in a living cosmos of stunning depth and richness of purpose. Cynthia Burgault, or Burgiault, a modern-day mystic and Episcopal priest, writes, quote, "Each one of us and every action we make has a quality of aliveness to it, a fragrance or vibrancy uniquely its own. If the outer form of who we are in this life is conveyed by our physical bodies, the inner form, our real beauty and authenticity, is conveyed by the quality of our aliveness. This is where the secret of our being lies." In learning to live in a living universe, we are learning to live in the deep ecology of existence. This is such an astonishing call to our soulful nature from the deep compassion of a living universe that we would be cosmic fools to ignore an invitation whose value is beyond price or measure. An old saying goes, "A dead man tells no stories." In a similar way, a dead universe tells no stories. In contrast, a living universe is itself a vast story continuously unfolding with countless characters, playing out gripping dramas of awakening and creative expression, inseparable from the artistry of world making. The universe is a living, unfolding creation. Saint Teresa of Avila saw this when she wrote, quote, "The feeling remains that God is on the journey too." The feeling remains that God is on the journey too. If we consciously recognize ourselves as participants in a cosmic garden of life that has been growing patiently over billions of years, we can awaken to the soaring uplift of aliveness and move from feelings of cosmic separation to feelings of cosmic participation, curiosity, and love. Whew. Well, that was the first section in chapter 4 of Duane Elgin's Choosing Earth. Part 4, I'm sorry, entitled Uplifts for a Transforming Future. And the first section, Choosing Aliveness.